Coming up today, we're going to get our seed potatoes planted.
And we're going to get our summer squash bed ready for planting.
All that and more today on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener is sponsored in part by, for all your non-GMO, organic, and heirloom vegetable, flowers, and herb seeds, visit dollarseed.com. Sioux Growing Supply, located in Wausau, Wisconsin, focusing on certified leaf compost, an excellent amendment for poor soil, retains moisture and adds nutrients, which equals less watering. Available in labor-saver, pre-filled trays and pots, bag and bulk. Visit SiouxCompost.com. Organic fertilizer for the health-conscious organic home gardener. Family owned and operated. Visit thewiveggardeners.com. Don't poison your soil with municipal water. Attach a body, mind, and soil hose filter. Free shipping exclusively through the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Just click on the body, mind, and soil icon. Authentic Haven brand soil conditioner for the home gardener. Easy to brew. Visit ManureTea.com. No measuring, no thinking. Stamp it, plant it, stop plotting, start planting. GardenStamp.com. Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Barrett. Well, it's potato planting time, and there's a couple of different techniques that you can plant your potatoes. So we're going to show you what we do here. Now we've got our seed potatoes from Wood Prairie Farms. We've got 5 different varieties here, and they all kind of mature during the same period. But again, based on where you're planting or how you're planting, you want to plant each variety together so you don't have for example, a dark red northern with a fingerling that may mature differently, and then you're trying to dig up one and trying not to disturb the other. So you want to keep that in mind. We've got a number of different potatoes that we have chitted, and we have went ahead and sliced. A couple of days ago, you can see it's put a scab on there. Not recommended. Well, it is recommended, but it's not mandatory that you do this. It just helps to prevent a lot of diseases and other potential insects from eating your potato while it's in the ground, so you have a better chance of germination. Now, you could just take this Yukon here, split it in half, throw it in the ground, be fine, sure. But we go ahead and take the extra steps to assist our potatoes to grow the best they can. Now, planting potatoes, you do it in rows, or you can do it in containers. We're going to do both here. What I've got established here is it's a 3-foot wide row here in our raised berms. Now, we went across instead of long ways, because if we would have went long ways, we would be actually stepping in the bed during harvest and compacting the soil. By doing it widthwise here, we can harvest the potatoes from both sides, and we're not stepping physically in the bed and compacting the soil, because compaction kills. So when doing this, we're just going to start with our all blue potatoes here. Let me get a couple of them here. You can see that they've got nice eyes on them. You want to cut your potatoes to where you have at least 1.5 inches and 2 eyes minimum. We've got more than 2 eyes on a lot of these potatoes, and that's perfectly fine. You want to plant your potatoes. We're doing it in the trench method, which means that we've dug down, made a trench. We're going to plant our potatoes. We're going to cover up and heel as we have with these over here. By doing this, it'll allow the stem to grow up and more potatoes to form under the soil. You can just plant them as is in the trench and then cover them flat or level with the natural ground, and then as they emerge you can heel them. Either way is fine. It's just going to take a little bit longer for the ones that are for these to emerge, because we're mounding so much dirt on top of them. So it's pretty simple. You want to plant them about 1 foot apart. We've got this bed prepped. You can tell the soil is a little firm down here because we are very deep. So what I will do here is I will take my garden fork and I will simply just loosen that up just a little bit, just to help the potatoes. Now we've got a couple inches of loose soil there. I also will add some bone meal here, which will help root development, and that's the main key to potatoes is the tubers. You want to avoid lime because that will put scales on the potato and it'll not make the potato grow as efficiently as it would otherwise. So I'm just going to take a handful here, cover the area there. Want to mix it in just slightly. Got a little straw here, not a big deal, from the walk paths. Now we're also going to take a couple of scoops of certified leaf compost from Sue's, put in the bottom of the hole, and then put our potatoes on top of that. All right, so I've got a scoop full of certified leaf compost from Sue's, and there's no real right or wrong answer to the amount to put in your hole. I'm just going to sprinkle a good amount. This would be the equivalent of one full shovel full there. I'm going to take my all blue potatoes, nestle them in. When you're putting the potatoes in, you want to put it to where the majority of the eyes are facing upwards and approximately 1 foot apart. We've got a 3 foot wide trench here, so one on each end and then one in the middle. And we're simply going to just cover it up with our soil that we've dug out of the hole. So it looks like a hill like this, and we'll be able to get a 2 or 3 more hills in this particular raised bed and a raised berm, and then we'll go down to the other end where we'll be able to get the majority of our seed potatoes planted. But what if you don't have a garden, or you don't want to take the time of digging and trying to hunt for them after they're ready to be harvested? Well, we can plant them in a container too, and that's what we're going to do. Got a container here, and any container will work. You just want to make sure there's good drainage holes and it's large enough. This is approximately a 15-gallon nursery pot that a pine tree came in several years ago. We've been holding on to it for a project, and this worked just fine for this project. So what I've done was I filled it about a quarter full with the certified leaf compost. I've added the bone meal to it and mixed it up. Now with a pot this size, I would say we're going to plant 2 potatoes, one there and one there. Planting them in a pot is a little different than putting them directly in the ground. I'm going to take some more blue potatoes. These are really interesting potatoes. Now, for example, this potato here, we had one good eye there, and that's what these are called, eyes, and a couple of there. We felt that it was just best just to plant that whole potato, and you can do that. With this one here, we've got 1 eye, 2 eyes, so I'm going to plant it face down because both of those eyes will potentially grow upwards. So we're going to plant one on one side of the pot here, and we're going to plant this one here on the other side. Now I am pushing them down, and I'm going to cover them with about 2 or 3 inches of certified leaf compost. Now with planting them in a container, could you potentially fill this container up and just let them grow naturally? Yeah, you could, but we're going to let them grow, and then as they emerge and get a couple of inches of top growth, we're going to top dress them until we get the pot completely filled. And this way it makes it much easier to harvest if you don't want to dig around in the soil and trying to find the mystery potatoes. You can simply dump this out and find the potatoes that you've grown. So it's very simple to grow potatoes in the ground, or if you have a raised bed, or as well as a container. You just want to make sure that container is large enough, because the smaller the container you have, the quicker it's going to dry out, and the sooner your potatoes are going to die. Other information you need to know about potatoes is they are a cool weather crop. You can put them in about 2.5, 3 weeks before your last frost date. If they do emerge above the surface and you do get a cold frost or a cold snap, they will die back to topsoil, but they will regrow. But it does slow down the harvest time. It does take longer for them to reach maturity. As well as potatoes don't like hot soil. If the soil reaches 85 to 90 degrees, they'll completely shut off and die. So you don't want to plant them if you're in a very warm place or warm climate in the peak of summer. Keep that in mind too. Potatoes, it's a wonderful, exciting plant to grow no matter what age you are, and there's a bunch of different methods that you can go about planting them in. So we're on the back end of our garlic berm here. We ran a garlic, so we didn't plant anymore. We've got 4 square feet of garden space here. To most people, you would just think, it's not beneficial to plant anything, but really it is. We've got the garden stamp here, and we can go ahead and mark this and plant Detroit. We can plant beets. We're going to plant some Detroit golden beets. By the indication on the garden stamp, we can get 9 beets per square foot. 9 times 4, that's 36. That's 36 beets we can potentially get growing in this space that most people would just bypass because it's at the end of the row. But we're going to maximize our garden space and put beets where most people wouldn't put anything. We encourage you to try everything you see on the program.
Grow your own, know where your food comes from, and know what's in it. It's important to plant flowers in your garden because it helps attract different insects, different pollinators, and sometimes it even keeps insects away. So we're going to plant this cold weather variety called Amaranthus, and I have 2 different varieties. I don't think they're very pretty, but they work in the cold weather. And they also are cold hardy, so you can plant them as soon as the soil can be worked. They'll germinate within about 2 to 3 weeks, and it's a couple months before you'll see the blooms, but by that time you'll have good tomato or starting of tomato flowers, so it'll attract the bees to come and help with the pollination of your whole garden. You just plant them in one area. I'm going to plant them. We have these kind of quadrants of tomato plants. We haven't planted our tomatoes yet. It's too cold for that, but you can plant this cold variety of flowers. So I'm going to get them planted here.
All right, so we're going to get our summer squash bed ready to go. Now, it's still very, very early and much too early to plant summer squash, but we can get the bed ready to go so when the time comes, we're not wasting any time prepping the soil. So what we've got here is we've got a bed that's about 18 inches wide, one of raised berms. We've got some old Jerusalem artichoke stalks here, which are going to indicate the mounds of where our summer squash is going. We're going to have 2 green or zucchini plants, 2 yellow zucchini plants, or green, black zucchini, whatever you prefer. And this will give us ample amount for zucchini relish, for whatever we want to do with the zucchinis. So how we're going to do this is we're going to take a pile of certified leaf compost from Sue's. Now this would be the equivalent of 1 shovelful. And we're just going to pile over top of where these stakes are at. And this will be, for the next 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, however long that's going to be before we can get it actually planted. That's going to allow it to neutralize the nutrients. Is going to, when the rain soaks it, it'll soak in the soil and everything will be good. We're also going to put a handful of Epsom salt just as an additional help to the soil. So if the plants are lacking a calcium, much like we did with the tomatoes, it will allow the plant to access the calcium that's in the soil, as well as help with picking up other nutrients and minerals in the soil. So I'm just going to do that with all 4 of these. All right, finishing up here. Now, when we plant our squash, we're going to do the traditional mound like you would normally see with a watermelon or melon type of situation. We can put about 3 seeds in each mound. So getting these ready to go, so when the time comes, we're not prepping, we're ready to plant. Thanks for watching. Join us again next time for more organic gardening and food preserving. I'm Joy Barrett, and this has been the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
For more information, please visit thewwisconsinvegetablegardener.com.